It is no secret to longtime fans of the channel that trading card games have been a big influence in my life, both on and off the channel. In this series, both DemonBattler and myself will be opening 24 packs, or one box, of each core Yu-Gi-Oh! Booster set in chronological order. After each opening, we will build decks from all of the cards we have opened thus far, then duel each other in a best-of-3 match with 3 prizes up for grabs to improve our decks. The winner will receive 2 of those prizes, and the loser will get 1. The possibilities for prizes are almost limitless, including single cards, sealed product, structure decks, and much more. Every card in the entire game's history will be obtainable in some form. However, neither of us will be able to rest on past laurels easily. The ever-changing official Forbidden and Limited list, our own choices of cards to be banished to the Shadow Realm, and even changes to the very rules of the game will keep our decks and duels fresh. This is yet another Yu-Gi-Oh! Progression series. Pharaoh's Servant was released October 20th, 2002. While this set introduced no new game mechanics, like Magic Ruler that had a focus on spell cards, Pharaoh's Servant has a heavy focus on trap cards. There's a lot of powerful cards in the set that I do want to go over. Time Seal is something that we could consider playing if we're playing a very aggressive deck. That is a 1-for-1 that skips your opponent's draw phase. The Eye of Truth will combo with some cards later that revolve around life point gain. A Minor Goblin Official can be a win condition. A Solemn Wishes is one of the better common continuous traps in the set. It gives you 500 extra life points every time you draw a card. It will only trigger once per instance of draw, however. Then we have Island Turtle, which is another 2k defender if we did not have enough of those already. The DNA Surgery is part of a 2-card combo that can lock your opponent's attacks out. A Light of Intervention is a flip effect hoser and will go in our side deck depending on what decks will come in the future, and there are some very powerful flip effect decks that are on the way. Darkfire Soldier number 1 and number 2 are 1700 beaters. Sky Scout, better known as Harpy's brother for boomer Yu-Gi-Oh! Players like ourselves, is an 1800 beater. Twin-Headed Fire Dragon is a 2200 1 tribute at common. A Bubonic Vermin is an effect monster that floats into itself. And then we have some pretty respectable machine-type monsters as well, which could be relevant for paralyzing potion evasion. Burning Land is a burn spell that destroys field spells and does 500 damage to each player during each of their standby phases. This could be very good in a burn strategy. A Cold Wave is a forever staple. This card freezes all back row for 1 turn. However, it must be activated at the start of your main phase. A 4-starred Ladybug of Doom is Prime Removal. It has a flip effect that destroys all level 4 monsters on your opponent's side of the field. Wingweaver is a 2752 tribute at common, so bombs will no longer be an issue. And finally, we have Insect Barrier, which when combined with DNA Surgery, prevents your opponent from attacking. This could be a very serious problem if we don't open any back row removal. Now at the rare slot, we have some pretty powerful cards as well. Nobleman of Extermination is technically back row removal. However, it only works on cards that cannot be chained, because if you chain the card in response to Nobleman of Extermination and it's a continuous card, Nobleman of Extermination will not remove it. Prohibition is actually a pretty cool card. It prevents your opponent from activating effects of cards of the card that you name. This will be very good not only now but later down the line. Morphing Jar number 2 is a staple of flip effect decks. It is a great way to recycle your own flip effects after you have used them, and it can be very troublesome to attack through as well, because when it flips up in the middle of battle, it effectively ends the battle phase because all the monsters get replaced with random set monsters from the deck. Mishizuri is going to be a rare that we will be looking out for. It is a 1-for-1 removal, and the first 1-for-1 removal that isn't a board wipe. When one of your monsters is destroyed, you can activate this even during the damage step to destroy one monster on the field. we'll be looking for 3 of this. Dimension Hole is interesting. Not sure how good this is, but it is interesting. You get to select one monster and remove it from play until the end phase of the turn. Magic Drain is very, very powerful. This is our first counter trap at low rarity, and I think it's better than Magic Jammer, because Magic Jammer forces you to go -1 to have a negate, where Magic Drain forces your opponent to trade a spell card in their hand for the ability to counter your negate. And they specifically have to have a spell card to discard as well. So even if they do have the card, it's still a 1-for-1, where you're trading the Magic Drain for either a spell from their hand or the spell that they're trying to activate. Gravity Bind is a big attack floodgate that is going to get limited pretty soon after its release. It prevents all level 4 or higher monsters from attacking, and is the backbone of many stall strategies. Hayabusa Knight is the first double attacker, and Mad Sword Beast is the first monster with innate piercing. We are going to be looking out for this if we choose to run the Mahavilo deck back, because that will give us a way to put pressure on our opponent and load up on one single monster. At Super Rare, we do have some strong cards as well as some real duds. It's about 50-50 in this set. A Grave Robber is interesting. It lets you play a spell card from your opponent's graveyard at the cost of 2,000 life points. A Dust Tornado is prime back row removal. We're going to want this card. And this is something I'm not afraid to spend wild cards on either. A Mirror Wall is an interesting one. Most of the time, this will just be Shrink, in that it will just have one attacking monster's attack value, because the 2,000 life point cost per turn to keep this online is way too expensive. Nobleman of Crossout is also prime removal and one of the few ways to deal with set monsters. If it is a flip effect monster, it does also lobotomy all of the same ones out of both players' decks. So if you are relying on flip effect monsters, that is something to consider. Fairy Meteor Crush is a card that I would be interested in if I do stick to the Mahavilo deck, because this is a way to give Mahavilo piercing, which is really strong. And Limiter Removal is a card that will be limited for a very, very long time. It doubles the attack of all machine-type monsters, and we do get some machine archetypes later on. Gearfried the Iron Knight is an 1800 beater that has some combo potential later on. Now, at the Ultra Rare slot, there's a lot of power. Almost every Ultra Rare is amazing. A Call of the Haunted and Premature Barrier are revival spells. We're going to want these both. These are forever staples. Ceasefire is a very strong burn tool that is limited for a long time, and we won't really have access to this card easily later on. Buster Blader is a big bomb. It just takes one Dragon-type monster on the field or in the graveyard to be larger than the Blue Eyes White Dragon. The Legendary Fisherman is really interesting. So I want to discuss this card a little bit, because this is had an errata. The Legendary Fisherman, now it prevents your opponent. It does not prevent your opponent from attacking directly. However, when this card was first released, it read, while Yumi was on the field, it was unaffected by any spell cards and cannot be attacked by your opponent's monsters. So if this was the only monster on the field when you had a Yumi, it was another attack lockout. And this will combine with a card that we will see in a couple of sets to make a water-focused deck very powerful. Thousand Eyes Restrict is the poster child of GOAT format. This is not a useful card now, but once we get Metamorphosis in Pharaonic Guardian, it is very, very easy to make this, and this slows the game to a crawl. And then Goblin Attack Force is a 2300 normal summon, the largest normal summon to date. However, once you attack with it, it does shift to defense position, and then it must stay in defense position for a turn. The Fiend Mega Cyber is an interesting one. If your opponent controls 2 monsters, you can special summon it, I believe. Let me just double check it. Yes, if your opponent controls 2 or more monsters than you do, it's just a free special summon, and it's a 2200, so it's not a bad body even if you have to tribute summon it. And then Beast of Talwar is a 1 tribute normal summon that has fantastic stats, both offensively and defensively. And unlike all the rest of the sets, this set is the first one that has complete banger secret rares. The 2 secret rares in this set are Jinzo and Imperial Order, both of which are game-breakingly strong. Jinzo is a 2401 tribute that stops all trap effects. An Imperial Order has an errata. There was a big errata wave relatively recently in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, but we will be playing with the old text that negates all spell cards. And the big thing that makes it better for us is that the life point payment is only during our turn, and it is optional. So you can use this as a free spell negate and then let it go. We also have a second set that was released between Magic Ruler and Pharaoh's Servant, and that was Tournament Pack 2. There's not really a lot to talk about in Tournament Pack 2. There are only 2 or 3 cards that are noteworthy. All of the commons are vanillas, none of which are particularly strong. At the rare slot, we have a bunch of rituals and Mystical Sheep number 1. This is a fusion substitute card that DemonBattler may be interested in if he decides to go for more of the fusion route. A Giant Red Sea Snake is an 1800 normal summon that could be good in the water decks later, but the big prize is Morphing Jar, although I don't see either of us trying to open packs to get a Morphing Jar because it is a 1 in 108 chance, and we will have ample opportunities to get Morphing Jar later on in the progression series. And with the release of Pharaoh's Servant, we do have a small update to the limited list. 7 cards from Magic Ruler were limited at this time. Cyberjar, Confiscation, Delinquent Duo, Painful Choice, Snatch Steal, The Forceful Sentry, and Upstart Goblin. All of these limits make perfect sense, especially Upstart Goblin, because without it, it would let you run a 37-card deck. Alright, 24 packs of Pharaoh's Servant are ahead of us. I'm super excited about this set. This is going to change a lot as well, just because back row now becomes very real, interaction on the opponent's turn becomes very real as well, and this is quite the high power set. So let's go ahead and start things off with an ultra rare, not one of the ultra rares I was looking for, unfortunately. That is a Buster Blader. It's not a bad finisher, but we did get some other cards as well, and most of the other ultra rares in the set are just bonkers. We did get Burning Land and Prohibition. Prohibition is going to serve us very well for the duration of the progression series, especially later on once we get some combo decks. And wow, 2 packs, 2 holos. That's a Nobleman of Crossout. That's really, really good, especially against the flip effect decks. It's also just a fantastic going second card. The Hayabusa Knight Suite 2, the Twin-Headed Fire Dragon could see play as well. But Nobleman of Crossout, that's going to be pretty great, and I don't think Demon's going to play around it because it is a super rare. And there's another holo! That's a limiter removal. That's not immediately useful, but it is something that we will want to keep our eyes on once we have machine-focused archetypes that we will get to mostly in Arc 2 of the progression series when we get to the GX packs. Dimension Hole is interesting. Wing Weaver is a good bomb. I don't know if we'll want to play it, but it is an option. 4-star Ladybug of Doom is fantastic removal, and that's something we're going to want to play around for this episode in particular. And there's a 4th holo in a row. What is going on with my pack luck? That is a second Buster Blader. Unfortunately, it's not a particularly playable ultra rare again, but it is a pretty hefty bomb, and it is something that I might actually consider playing. Of note, this also could potentially allow us to make Dark Paladin in the future, but it really depends on whether we get the fusion cards necessary to support that. We do get a fusion card in the next set, so that will open up the possibility of the extra deck as well. Kisatai is another interesting card that I didn't mention in the pack opening. So what this does is whenever it gets attacked, it gets attached to the attacking monster as an equip spell, and then during each of your opponent's standby phases, you gain life points equal to half of the attack of that monster. But it is more noteworthy because it can stop some monsters that stop battle interaction. We don't have a lot of that now, but that could be a way to stop some powerful boss monsters that shut off interaction in the future. And there's another interesting rare that I did not discuss during the set intro, and that was the Shallow Grave. The Shallow Grave is a staple of Flip Effect and Stall decks. What this does is it allows both players to revive a monster from their graveyard in face-down defense position, but if you're reviving things such as Morphing Jar number 2, then it won't really matter too much that you gave your opponent a free special summon out of the graveyard. I will take another copy of Solemn Wishes as well, and that is our first copy of DNA Surgery. We are going to be looking out for the DNA Surgery Insect Barrier combo, although it won't be quite as powerful for us because I do know that DemonBattler has a copy of Heavy Storm, which could be used to out the entire thing. But that is something that I do need to consider in deck build. And there's another DNA Surgery. DNA Surgery is also useful for just changing monster types in general. It is one of the few cards that can do that, and that could be useful in some archetypes down the road that rely on a specific type. However, it can be dangerous to do that now, or not now, but in the next few sets in the future, depending on what demon opens, because there are some tribal hosers that we will have access to in the short future, and that is also our third copy of Burning Land. And there's another super rare. It's unfortunately another dud super rare. This is Backup Soldier. The only real way to abuse Backup Soldier is in Exodia decks. There are some Exodia decks that dump the entire Exodia line in the graveyard with Painful Choice and then recur them. This is one of the reasons why Painful Choice was very quickly limited. We also have another copy of the Shallow Grave, which is nice, our second copy of Time Seal, and that makes our Bubonic Vermin playset. There's another copy of Prohibition and our copy of Cold Wave. Cold Wave is going to be very good at punishing interaction, because if you activate that at the start of the turn, it will often force a response, because then all interaction is shut off. We already have our playset of Solemn Wishes, which is nice. That could actually be a deck for today. And there is another holo. That is a Legendary Fisherman. That is going to be useful in a couple of sets once we get the Legendary Ocean field spell card, which is a retrain of Yumi that is quite powerful. Ground Collapse is another noteworthy card that won't be useful now, but it will be very helpful later on if we can make Ojama Trio easily, but that's not for quite some time. And there is another super rare. Unfortunately, it is the worst super rare in this set. It is Parasite. So what this card does is it has a flip effect, and it has to survive battle to be able to do this, which is not likely as it only has 300 defense. It shuffles into your opponent's deck face up. When they draw it, it gets special summoned to their field, and then they take 1,000 points of damage, and it turns all their monsters into insects. Unfortunately, this is not very good because there are no restrictions on what your opponent can do with the Parasite, so they can just simply tribute it off. And we do have tribute monsters at common, so we should be seeing those, and those 2k defenders aren't quite as unbeatable as they once were. And there's our first copy of Gravity Bind. This is a card that I was looking for as well. I don't know if I'm going to want to play a stall strategy now, but I do want to keep my mind open to playing stall strategies later, and that card is very, very important for them, as attack floodgates are kind of good. And here's another interesting rare. It is Light Force Sword. This takes a random card out of your opponent's hand, and then in 4 turns they do get it back. So it does kind of a good impression of, not Trap Dust Shoot, but it can disrupt them long enough that you can get them out of the game, especially if you're playing a fairly aggressive deck. So that could be something that we consider playing. There's a Morphing Jar number 2. I'm not seeing a ton of the stuff I was looking for. The knock is nice, and some of the other stuff that we pulled is okay, but I'd really like to see a Dust Tornado and some of the really strong Ultra Rares. I'm not saying that Buster Blader isn't strong, it's quite a finisher, it's just not what I'm particularly looking for. And there's another Morphing Jar number 2. This will get semi-limited, so I'm okay with pulling just 2. All the rest of these cards are either not playable or we have 3 copies of them. And there is another unwanted super rare. It is Magical Hats. This card is unfortunately not as good as Yugi makes it out to be, because the hats only stick around for 1 turn. But that is a 3rd Morphing Jar number 2. So we may be able to play some kind of deck that abuses that, and given our pulls so far, I'm really leaning towards that kind of deck now. And that's one of the cards I was looking for. That's Fairy Meteor Crush. That might convince me to go back to this Mahavilo strategy. That card is fantastic, at least specifically in the Mahavilo deck, because it lets us punch through defenders. We also got a 3rd Shallow Grave, so I'm looking forward to being able to play some kind of flip effect deck, but wow, that's a nice pull. That is actually going to be useful. It won't be useful for super long, just because the equipped decks won't be quite as good once we have more things that can check them, but I will be happy to play this today. And there's a Magic Drain. I was really worried we weren't going to see Magic Drain. That is prime interaction. We will play this all day. Light of Intervention is good as well, and that's something, if we do go with the Morphing Jar strategy, that is something we will need to consider for the side deck, rather against that strategy. But it is something we need to consider, because that does shut off a lot of our deck's ability to deal with monsters that can attack under the floodgates. I would like to see 1 more Gravity Bind if we do go that route, but right now we have a pretty solid plan. And ask and you shall receive. There's a 2nd Gravity Bind. 2 is kind of the sweet spot for this. You really don't want to play 3 because 3 of them are redundant, but 2 is definitely the right number. If I get a 3rd, I wouldn't mind it, because then I could side 1 and see if I really need 3, but 2 seems right for this card. Alright, only a few packs left. Haven't hit either of the secrets. We've hit a lot of holos, but they're not the best holos. They're definitely workable. See if we can get 1 more good holo in the close. And nothing special out of this pack. Not even any good vanillas. Then we'll see for our 2nd to last pack. That's another Nobleman of Crossout and another Magic Drain. Those are both pretty good. We haven't hit any of the super bomby holos, but we have definitely got some solid ones. And that is also our first copy, believe it or not, of Insect Barrier. It's a common, and we just got our first one in pack 23. So I don't think we're going to be playing DNA Surgery Insect Barrier. However, the knock is nice to have. Funnily enough, that is also our first copy of Gradius, which does get some support in future sets. Why we would get support for a vanilla monster, I'm not quite sure, but there it is. And then for our very last pack of Miracle in the Close, that is not a Miracle in the Close, that is Monster Recovery, which is a card that is unfortunately not very playable, but I would say this was a slightly above average opening. We got a lot of strong cards. The double knock is going to be sweet. But in any case, I will see you in Deck Edit. Okay, so this is the list that I came up with for the Pharaoh Servant duel. I'm not super thrilled running this deck back because of how it performed last time, especially with all the removal options we have now. But I didn't open quite enough to play a full-on stall deck. But I will run down the card by card. There have been some changes. 2 copies of 4-starred Ladybug of Doom. This is a card I'm kind of scared of, because going all in on 1 monster, only to run into this and have it be destroyed is pretty bad news, which is why I've gone out of my way to include some more lower-level monsters that don't get destroyed by this. 1 Cyberjar, 2 Dark Elf, 1 Hane, 2 Hayabusa Knight. We have a ton of equipped cards, and Hayabusa Knight is a double attacker, so we can get in potentially tons and tons of damage with this if we load it up. So we have more than Mahavilo now as equipped card payoffs. 2 copies of Magician of Faith to recur our spells. 3 copies of Mahavilo. Can't believe we have this. And this hasn't even had a reprint yet. This does get some reprints at lower rarities, but we already have our playset, and this is the prime reason why we are playing the deck. 1 copy of Sangan, 1 Time Wizard, still on this Time Wizard in case there is a board I do need to out. 1 Witch of the Black Forest, and then 1 7-colored fish, 2 Giant Soldier of Stone, and 1 Neo the Magic Swordsman, rounding out the monsters. For the spells, 1 Black Pendant, 1 Card Destruction, 1 Confiscation, 1 Fairy Meteor Crush. Normally this card isn't great because it doesn't actually increase the damage that's dealt by the monster, it just gains piercing, but piercing is so important in this deck that I will take it any way I can get it, as we did not open a single copy of Mad Sword Beast, which is a card that I was really looking forward to playing. 2 Fisher, 1 Horn of the Unicorn, 3 Malevolent Nuzzler, 2 Noblemen of Crossout. This is probably our best pickup from Pharaoh's Servant, and will be in the deck for a while, and discourage our opponent from playing flip effect monsters. 1 Pot of Greed, 1 Snatch Seal, 1 Stim Pack. This is a card that I overlooked from Metal Raiders. It gives the monster 700 attack, and then it loses 200 attack during each of your standby phases. That is fine, we just want better equips, and Book of Secret Arts is a little bit too specific, despite that we have spellcasters, because we can't put Book of Secret Arts on Hayabusa Knight, so I want something a little more generic. And then Tribute to the Doomed, rounding out our spells. For the traps, we have 2 Magic Drain, 1 Mirror Force, 1 7 Tools of the Bandit. We're playing this in the main deck now specifically because of all the new trap cards that are in this set, and 1 Solemn Judgment, rounding things out. The side deck has changed quite a bit as well. We have the 3rd 4-star Ladybug of Doom. We have Trapmaster for trap removal specifically for Gravity Bind, because Gravity Bind is a big problem for this deck, and there is a Gravity Bind, Burning Land, Solemn Wishes thing that Demon could possibly be playing. Remove Trap is in here for the same reason. We have a copy of the All-Seeing White Tiger in our side deck. This may seem a little bit odd, but this is specifically to hedge against Gravity Bind, because this is a 1300 attack monster that can attack under Gravity Bind. We have D-Spell for Insect Barrier if he is on the combo. Last Will I couldn't find room for in the main deck because we don't really have a lot of great targets for it. I think our best target for Last Will is either one of the Recruiters, Hayabusa Knight, or, oddly enough, Time Wizard. 2 copies of Prohibition. This is going to stay in our side deck for a very long time, as this will let us deal with any problems that could stop our deck cold. Tailor of the Fickle is in here. Could not keep this in the main deck. I still think that there are paralyzing potions around. This may make its way into the main deck next time when we get Echibio Drakmor. 1 copy of Light Force Sword. If games are a little bit shorter, or if we are going first, we will put this in, because this can disrupt our opponent's plays, and hopefully we can kill them before they get the card back. 1 Waboku, 1 Soul Release. The Cold Wave is another card I could not keep in the main deck. We will bring this in depending on our opponent's trap lineup. And then 2 copies of Shadow of Eyes. Shadow of Eyes will come in against the flip effect decks because Morphing Jar number 2 is a big threat to a deck like this, because it can wind up milling all of our equips. So if our opponent goes to set a Morphing Jar number 2 or a Cyber Jar, we can activate this and then it will flip up without tripping the effect. Alright, I am excited to see if I can get back in the winner's circle with this deck. It is time to duel. So, I hope your Pharaoh Servant draft was at the very least interesting. Spell Speed 2 interaction? What's this? It's like it's going to completely change the game?
Oh yeah. Finally, we actually get to see something aside from a fake card being face down.
No kidding. There's a lot of power in this set, but mostly at high rarity. At low rarity, I thought this set was kind of a bust.
Yeah. There were a few good cards here and there, but nothing, like, massive. Let's see. Ooh, perfect.
Well, that's a good start for you.
Alright, so I'm going to take the first turn.
Yes, you will. Good luck, Duelist.
Good luck. Ooh, interesting. Alright, so draw. I think I'm just going to go ahead and set a card and pass.
Draw for turn, stand by main. I am going to set a pair and pass.
Alright. Stand by main. I guess we ought to go with it. I'm going to summon out a 7-colored fish.
Sure.
And let's see what you got.
I am going to use Hane Hane to bounce your set.
Ooh, alright. So that goes back into the hand. Main phase 2. I'm going to set a card and pass.
Draw for turn, stand by main. I think I'm just going to make a big push this turn.
Oh?
This may seem a bit loose, and it might lose me the game, but I'm going to make a big push this turn. I'm going to snatch steal your 7-colored fish.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
I'm going to normal summon Mahavilo.
Oh boy.
I'm going to activate Malevolent Nuzzler, targeting Mahavilo.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm going to activate Black Pendant, targeting Mahavilo.
Ah, jeez. Okay.
Battle phase. 18.
So that's 18 to that.
And then Mahavilo is going to be 3750.
Good God. Okay.
I will pass the turn, and you will gain 1,000 life points.
Question is, does that actually do any good for me, though? Damn. That's...
I am a little bit worried, though, because I kind of just went all in.
Yeah, you really did. Unfortunately, I do have the punish. But even still, it's like... That's going to do a lot, because I take another 500 here.
You do.
And, yeah, I kind of just have a set and pass. That's really all I can do.
Draw for turn, stand by main. I am going to set a monster and pass.
Alright. Stand by main. I'm actually going to sacrifice my island turtle and set a card.
Oh, that's totally not a labyrinth wall.
What are you talking about?
Draw for turn, stand by main. Pass. Like, obviously it's a labyrinth wall.
Alright, this actually might help me out here. I'm going to normal summon Sonic Bird.
Ah, still on the crabs, I see.
Yes, I am. So I'm going to go ahead and add a Turtle Oath to my hand. And let's go ahead and fire it off.
Sure.
So I will send my Senju of the Thousand Hands and my 7-colored fish in order to summon the Crab Turtle.
Crab Brave it is.
And, alright, let's be smart and just clear out whatever you've got here.
I do have the Mirror Force.
Damn, okay. So that's gonna go, and... Alright, I'll pass.
Draw for turn, stand by main. I'm not too happy about this, but I'm going to normal summon Neo the Magic Swordsman.
Alright.
I will proceed to the battle phase. I will attack into your Labyrinth Wall and take 1,300.
Why would you... Oh, you're gonna fish her, aren't you?
Correct.
Ew.
Get out of here, please. Go ahead!
Alright, I draw.
I would like to put damage on the table, please.
Oh my god, that is a top deck. I'm going to pop my Swords of Revealing Light.
It's a 4-starred Ladybug of Doom.
So your Neo goes boom.
No, it does not. That is not reciprocal, sir.
Oh!
Yeah,
wow, I didn't realize it was only your opponent.
Card is really good.
Wow, that's actually a lot better than I thought it was. Alright.
Alright, draw for turn, stand by main. Pass!
Alright. So...
Swords of Revealing Light, still draw 3 cards.
Okay, so I'm gonna set a monster, and I will pass.
Draw for turn, stand by main, set a monster, and pass.
Draw. Stand by main.
Your Swords of Revealing Light is on 2 now, by the way.
Right. Ooh, that's actually a good play. I'm gonna flip summon my Magician of Faith.
That's really bad.
I'm gonna retrieve my Raigeki. And let's go ahead and clear your board.
Yep. It was another 4-star Ladybug of Doom.
And then I'm going to tribute my Magician of Faith for Jinzo!
Oh, you got the Jinzo, huh? Yep.
And punch for 24.
Yep. Yeah, somebody got good cards. Draw for turn, stand by main. Oh, what a rip. What a rip.
Oh, god damn.
I really don't want to have to pitch that, but...
Oh, so you got a Fairy Meteor Crush. That's a nice card.
Yeah, Fairy Meteor Crush is a nice pickup for this deck. Your Swords of Revealing Light will expire.
Alright.
I didn't want to do that this turn, but but you have like any normal summon and I just lose the game.
Right. I think I'm gonna be smart with this, and I'm gonna run out a Sonic Bird.
Thin the deck some.
Yeah, I'm gonna thin it out a little bit here. So, because the last thing I need is to accidentally top deck the Turtle Oath when I don't have what I need to attack with it.
14 in. Draw for turn, stand by main, set one and pass.
Alright. Draw. Let's see. You've already used your Mirror Force, so I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, you know what? Why not? I'm gonna run out Sangan.
Sure. I'll take it all.
Alright.
If you're still on Hinotama, I swear.
Oh, I would laugh if I had a Hinotama in hand. It would finally get to... My little Sako would finally get to come to fruition.
Unfortunately, because you have Sangan, yeah, that sucks. Unfortunately, because you have Sangan, not even Time Wizard is going to save me.
Ooh, that was a good start.
Alright, hopefully game 2 goes a little bit better for me, because that was kind of embarrassing. I did play that a little bit loose, but I still think it was worth it to make that big push. I'll take the play this time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Honestly, if I didn't have that Raigeki, that probably would have been enough to clear me out.
Alright, draw for turn, stand by, main. I will summon a 2k defender and pass.
Hey. Alright. Well, let's start with this guy.
Must be nice.
Ooh. Okay, it's a little bit gimmicky. Well, not even gimmicky, it's straight up reckless, but I'm gonna summon out Senju with 1,000 hands.
Sure, that's fine.
So I will add my Crab Turtle, and then I'm going to activate my Turtle Oath.
Oh, gonna ritual summon right away, huh?
I'm gonna pitch my Trihorn Dragon that I received as a secret, as a wild card.
Ah,
and out the Crab Turtle.
That's the secret or wild card you were so upset about. I mean, it's not bad for your deck. It's a level 8 for...
Well, that's the thing. It's the only one that I could have actually really made use of, so... Alright, battle. Let's go ahead and ram Crab Turtle into the Dark Elf.
I'll just take the 1950.
Alright. And then main 2, I will set a card, and I will pass.
Draw for turn, stand by main. I'm gonna fire off Confiscation.
Ew.
What you got?
Well, I got some good ones.
That's a hand of cards. Obviously I take the Heavy Storm here.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, to be honest.
It just kind of buggers up what I wanted to do, but this is going to force the Maneater Bug. I'm going to Snatch Steal your Crab Turtle.
And that right there is exactly why I was worried about it. Alright.
I'll run out of Neo as well.
Yeah, okay.
Battle Phase hit. Should be 1150 and then 17. Yup. Go.
Okay.
And then you'll get 1,000 back.
Main phase 1. Well, you know what? I'm gonna make it inconvenient for you. I'm gonna Paralyzing Potion the Crab Turtle.
That's not bad.
And then I'm going to set a monster and set a card.
Alright, draw for turn, stand by, main. Well, I'm going to make you make a decision now, because that's probably a Maneater Bug, so I'm going to make you make a decision. I'm going to normal summon Hayabusa Knight.
Ah, crap.
Go to the battle phase, attack into what I am expecting is a Maneater Bug.
It is.
Yep.
And I am honestly okay with taking out the Neo, because, yeah, I take 1,000 damage.
And then
here,
you'll go life point neutral.
Exactly.
Go. Well, you definitely turned my Snatch Steal into a liability.
It kind of makes me laugh that Paralyzing Potion's actually got this value to it. Alright, so I'm going to run out a Sonic Bird. I'm not going to use the effect, but I am going to add a Malevolent Nuzzler to it.
Okay.
So, 21 into your Hayabusa.
Sure, I will take 11. For turn, stand by, main. And you are top decking. I think I gotta make a push. Get it out of here.
Oh. Alright. That kind of bites, but...
Yeah, I'm assuming you're not going to activate Malevolent Nuzzler.
Oh god, no.
Well, here's a Philo. I have a Malevolent Nuzzler.
So that's gonna be 2550.
2750.
27. Oh, right.
Yeah, it's 700 and then 500. You're gaining a lot of life points off the Snatch Steal, though. Because it's been around since the start of the game.
Well, I gotta pass.
Draw for turn, standby main, battle
Now,
2750.
alright.
Pass.
Alright, I draw.
Alright.
Oh my god.
Better have something this turn.
Yeah, I got nothing on that one.
Okay. Alright, game 3. You are on the play, though, I'm assuming.
I am. This is gonna be a real tough one, though.
It will.
Okay, so draw. Standby main. I guess I'm gonna set a monster and pass the turn.
Draw for turn, standby main. Alright, I'm going to run out Neo the Magic Swordsman.
Okay.
I'll proceed to the battle phase and attack into your 4-star Ladybug of Doom. Oh,
it is my island turtle.
Just a 2k defender. Okay. Alright, after combat, I am going to... Okay, I think I know what I'm going to do. This is a little bit awkward, but I think I need to do this. I'm going to prohibit Raigeki, and I'm going to pass.
Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Draw. Oh, no!
Did you seriously just top deck it?
Yes, I did. Son of a bitch. Okay, I'm gonna be on. Like, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna actually reveal that.
Wow,
Yeah,
I can't believe that.
That's actually hilarious. Damn.
If that's not an anime protagonist moment, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna set a monster and pass then. Like, geez, that's next level Pegasus right there.
Standby main. Well, this gets very badly punished by Maneater Bug, but I think I need to do this. I'm on a normal Hayabusa Knight.
Alright.
But this gets punished by Maneater Bug exactly. I'm going to Malevolent Nuzzler the Hayabusa Knight.
Ew.
I'm going to Stim Pack the Hayabusa Knight.
Oh, dear God.
Battle phase. Let's clean up your Island Turtle first. And then you'll set.
Well, you get punished. You really are Pegasus.
That's not an end phase. I'm attacking for 17, obviously.
Yeah, okay. Well, let me do that. In case you want to do
No, I wasn't doing anything else anyway.
Okay.
But yeah. All I wanted to do was attack.
Alright, I didn't know if you wanted to add Malevolent Nuzzler back or not.
Nah.
Alright, standby main. God damn, that Prohibition's gonna be a pain to deal with.
It's a good card.
Well, I guess we'll just inchworm it out. I'm gonna summon out a 7-colored fish and beat over your Neo the Magic Swordsman.
I will take 100 points damage.
Main phase 2, I will set a card and I will pass.
Draw for turn, standby main. Well, I'm going to make you get over a big boy.
Ooh. That's...
I'm going to make you get over a 2500, actually.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Battle phase, I will pay cost to attack.
Okay, well, I do lose my monster.
Do you have Mishizuri?
However, no. But I also technically net on that life point loss, so...
Right. Pass.
Alright, draw. Standby main. That would be a nice card if it weren't for what's going on. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip over my Eternal Rest.
I figured as much. Take 5.
Yep. I lose 5 because of Black Pendant. However, once again, I get to trade on life points because I get to slug you for 18.
You do.
And I get a big monster out of the way, too.
You do.
Main phase 2, I will set a card and pass the turn.
Draw for turn, standby main. I'm going to set a monster and pass.
Alright. I'm going to... Well, let's see what you got.
It's a moth.
Ooh, what in the heck do you...
I'm just gonna grab a black pendant.
That's actually kind of scary in general. Okay, main 2, I will set a card, and I will set a monster.
Draw for turn, standby main. I'm going to set another monster and pass.
Alright, standby main. This is going to be an interesting turn depending on what you've got face down. I'm going to run out a Sonic Bird.
Oh boy, is this a... Oh, this is not good for me. This could be a lethal push.
Well, it's probably not going to be lethal, but I'm going to ram your defense with my 7-color fish.
It's another Magician of Faith. I'll add
Jeez.
Malevolent to hand, and then I'll take 14.
Alright. And then in main phase 2, I'm going to flip summon my Morphing Jar number 2.
Oh, wow. That's...
So we're going to move these 3 to the top of the deck.
I was actually kind of terrified of that card.
I'm going to shuffle up, and now let's see.
Get that out of here.
That hurts.
Witch
Ooh.
is... Yeah, Witch
Okay,
is
that's
fine.
1.
Get out of here,
Damn.
Jinzo.
Okay. So I get Witch.
You get to set Witch and 7-colored fish.
So unfortunately, I kind of net negative in that regard. However, I at least know I can get some insurance with the Witch.
Yeah, you can. You can at least get a solve to whatever I draw.
Not only that, unless you yourself are running some kind of ritual or something else like that, I'll at least have a monster left on the field.
Yep. Draw for turn, standby main. I will set one and pass.
I draw, standby, thinking and standby.
You have in standby Cursive Fiend?
Okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do that. Main phase 1. At the start of main phase 1.
Oh, do you have Cold Wave?
I'm going to activate Cold Wave.
Yep.
Do you have a response?
Nope, everything's frozen.
Alright, so I'm going to flip my Witch, and I'm going to flip my 7-color fish.
29 in. Draw for turn, standby main. Nope, you got it. I flooded equips. The unknown in my hand was another Malevolent Nuzzler. I just could not draw a monster.
I actually had top decked the Heavy Storm, so I could actually deal with Regeki if I needed to, or Prohibition rather. I
also drew Mirror Force when you activated Cold Wave.
Ooh.
But if you had Heavy Storm, it didn't matter. Yeah, I figured that was possible. I'm beginning to wonder if this deck is even good, because I think now there might be a little bit too much removal. So I was actually afraid of Morphing Jar number 2, and to a greater extent, 4-star Ladybug of Doom. So I actually brought in Shadow of Eyes for you.
Oh, that's actually a pretty good tech.
It's also good if you go to set Labyrinth Wall, then I can turn it face up and it has 0 attack.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. That actually would have messed me up pretty good.
I was mostly afraid of flip effects because removal is very, very bad for this deck. But yeah, the third game, I just drew equip after equip after equip and could not find a monster.
See, that's part of the other issue with how things are starting to change, is the fact that the equips are a lot harder to make use of, and at the same time, they're also a lot harder to come back from if you lose them. I actually sided out. I started with 2 Malevolent Nuzzler. By this point, by game 3, I actually sided them out and swapped in a couple of Tailor of the Fickle, because I figure if I need that power, if I have this, you probably have it, and if I could do that on, say, your Maha Vilo, that'll not only cut out a lot of attack power for you, but that'll also get a threat off the field.
If my pool would let me do something else, I would, but I have 3 Maha Vilo. I kind of have to play this. Because you saw what happened. You saw what happened in that second game, where the game was just over in such a big hurry.
Yeah.
And the Hayabusas I thought would be good, too.
Oh yeah, Hayabusa is usually a really good card, especially against someone like me. Now, I will say this, too. The packs... The pack opener for me on this one was absolutely back and forth crazy. It was basically a handshake and then a hand slap. Because on one hand, I hit the Jinzo, which I actually hit Jinzo very first pack.
Wow.
And I was ecstatic. However, it turned out to be one of only 2 holo cards I pulled, period.
Oh, I had the opposite problem. I got 10 holos.
Good God.
Most of them were bad. Like, what were some of the holos I got? I got Backup Soldier, I got Magical Hats, I got Parasite. I got so many bad holos.
See, I'm not even sure if we could do Parasite on this.
There's a function for it in Dueling Book.
Okay.
There's an actual tooltip for it. Like if you highlight the card.
I will say too, Fairy Meteor Crush, that's actually a pretty good card, and I actually mentioned in the pack opening part that it's a good card because not only does it give you piercing, but you could even throw it on your opponent's monster and make them less likely to attack with it.
I was more thinking like it's super important for Mahavilo to have piercing because I'm a very vertical deck rather than a horizontal deck.
That's actually a good point also. Like you have a lot, like your Mahavilo gets scary after a couple equips. So
I mean, it's pretty easy for me to make it over 3K, and depending on my draw, I can even make it 4K.
Now, I will say I'm actually a little surprised that you didn't. I'm a little surprised that you didn't at least toss in like the DNA surgery combo. I actually can't because guess who didn't pull a single copy of Insect Barrier?
Well, that makes 2.
Oh, really?
I got 1 Insect Barrier.
Wow.
I actually had a side deck plan specifically for DNA Surgery Insect Barrier.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I had even said if I pulled them, I would turn around and probably side deck Insect Barrier, just so that way, if you did run that, I could run it as a countermeasure, because then you have to disable your own card in order for it to matter.
Yep.
And then I didn't pull any of them, so I was like, okay, that bites. But I actually got really bad rare luck, too. Like, I like the card Shift, just because it's good for attacks, too. But I actually didn't pull any of that. I didn't pull any Mishizuri, and I pulled no Magic Drain.
Oh, you didn't get any Mishizuri either.
Yeah, that, like...
Mishizuri is one of the reasons why I was really terrified of playing this deck again, but I just couldn't make another deck work. Although the next set, Labyrinth of Nightmare, might change that. There's a lot of interesting strategies that Labyrinth of Nightmare enables.
Oh, definitely.
But in any case, I think I will take my second consecutive loss and go mope around in the consolation bracket.
Yeah, I need to go get the winner's wheel going again.
So the more I think about this deck, the more I'm starting to think I may need to bring something new to the next duel, because I think there might be a little bit too much removal and not enough ways to protect Mahavilo. So unfortunately, we do find ourselves back in the consolation bracket. I will only get 1 spin. Hopefully I can pick up something that will turn this around. I'd really like to see Super or Ultra. If I get a secret, I'm obviously taking Imperial Order, but that's a pretty good one. Wildcard Ultra Rare is pretty good, so I'm going to need to take the time to think about what it is I want from any of the first 4 sets, and it'll be just a few seconds for you, but it'll be a while for me. Okay, so I've made my decision. It took me a while to consider this, but I think I'm going to plan a little bit for the future, since depending on what happens in Labyrinth of Nightmare, plus the cards I got in Pharaoh's Servant, I could very well see transitioning to some kind of board stall strategy. So I think I'm going to take a copy of Thousand Eyes Restrict. The reason why I'm doing this is because I have double Magician of Faith, and we could get some pretty strong stuff out of the next couple sets, and we get Metamorphosis in Pharaonic Guardian. That's going to be the way we summon this. So I think I'm going to lock in my choice of Thousand Eyes Restrict. That'll do it for today's episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Progression Series. Join us next time when we open Labyrinth of Nightmare, another set that is going to have pretty high consequences for our series. Until then, see you around.